you'll find that one guy amongst the most elite is on an island all by himself, underpaid by
Tyrese Halliburton and the Pacers have agreed on a 5-year deal that could be worth up to $260 million.
Really? Tyrese Halliburton for $260 million? And now Jaylen Brown with a record-setting $304 million with the Celtics? What is going on in the league? I need answers. With the NBA dishing out the biggest contracts in league history, I can't help but wonder what players are worth the salary and who isn't. Most teams keep 8 to 10 players in their rotation, so we will assess the top 10 guys on each of the 30 teams and find out who is really the most deserving of each dollar they earn and who isn't. Keep in mind this is all analytical, and I understand there are incomputable assets a player brings to the table, such as IQ and hustle. But for the simplicity of this experiment, we'll let the numbers speak for themselves. Each player will be evaluated with an overall production score. We will call it OP score for short. The OP score will be calculated by the sum of their stats: points, assists, rebounds, steals, blocks, and turnovers. Points will hold their own weight to a 1-to-1 ratio. Assist will count as the value of an average made field goal at 2.74 for the 2022-2023 NBA season. Rebounds will count as the value of an average possession at 1.16. Steals will be double that. Turnovers will be a deduction at double the value of an average possession. And blocks equal to the league average field goal attempt at 1.3. To put every player on an even playing field, we will adjust their numbers to 36 minutes of play. Let's use DeJounte Murray as an example. This season, Murray averaged 20.5 points per game, 5.3 rebounds, 6.1 assists, 1.5 steals, 0.3 blocks, and 2.1 turnovers in 36.4 minutes of play. First, we adjust his numbers to 36 minutes of play, giving him a new stat line of 20.3 points per game, 5.2 rebounds, 6 assists, 1.5 steals, and 0.3 blocks. Only a slight change because he already plays about 36 minutes a game as it is. Now we take the 5.2 rebounds multiplied by the value of an average possession at 1.16 and get 6.032, plus 6 assists times the average made field goal at 2.74 is 16.44, plus 1.5 steals times double the average possession at 2.32 to get 3.48, plus 0.3 blocks times the average field goal attempt value of 1.3 for 0.39, minus 2.1 turnovers times double the value of an average possession at 2.32 for 4.872. Sum it all up with his points per 36 minutes of 20.3, and we get an OP score of 41.9. This basically means in 36 minutes of gameplay, DeJounte Murray was responsible or shared responsibility for 41.9 points in that game. Now we can apply this method to the remaining 9 of the top 10 players on the Hawks, and we find that Trae Young has the highest OP score of 52.6, followed by Murray's 41.9, down to DeAndre Hunter with 25.9, for a team average score of 34.1. Let's compare these numbers to their salaries to get an idea of how much the Hawks pay their players for their overall production. It's fitting that Trae Young is the highest paid player on the team with a salary just above $37 million. However, Murray is neither second, the third, nor the fourth highest earner on the payroll, but the fifth at just over $17 million. But at least he is above the team average of $13,989,344. I've prepared a chart to help us visualize the trend between OP score and salary. The yellow line represents the average salary versus the average OP score, basically how much the Hawks will pay a player for a bucket. The further a player is above the line, the more overvalued he is, and the further below, the more undervalued he is. You can see when all player stats are adjusted to 36 minutes of gameplay, Trae is easily the most productive player on the team, and also appears to be the most overvalued. But this doesn't always paint the full picture. The white dotted line is the trend that the Hawks actually pay their players versus their OP score per 36 minutes. Not only are these players paid to put numbers on the board, but by their workload, and not all players can be on the floor for 36 minutes a game. Ideally, the players furthest to the right get the most minutes to maximize production. If we take a look at their scores for their actual minutes, we find that DeJounte Murray is the most underpaid, providing $26.4 million worth of production for $17.1 million, and John Collins is the most overpaid, providing $12.1 million worth of production for $23.5 million. I guess it's no shocker they traded him to the Jazz, but don't get it twisted, John Collins is a beast. He just wasn't a good fit for the Hawks after signing DeJounte Murray. Now that you have an idea of how it all works, let's see how the rest of the league stacks up. Players above the horizontal white line are the top 30 highest paid players in the league. The players to the right of the vertical line are the top 30 producers in the league. The quadrant in the bottom left is mostly role players, journeymen, and some elite players just outside the top 30. In the other three quadrants of the graph is home to the most well-known faces in the NBA, like Stephen Curry, Luka. You can see Jokic furthest to the right as the league's leading producer. Moving down a bit further, you have Tatum, Fox, and then Julius Randle at the bottom of the top 30 cluster. After that, the remaining top 30 are a bit scarce, with Sabonis, Zion, Ja, LaMelo, Josh Giddey of all people, Mr. 260 Tyrese Halliburton, and finally, with the 23rd highest OP score, the NBA's most underrated player, Chris Dunn. Last season, Dunn absolutely balled on a budget for the Jazz. With a salary of just $736K, he has shown he is capable of production at a value of $20 million. The difference between him and the other 5 players is he's the only one fighting for a contract. Josh Giddey is on his rookie contract and will likely be compensated when it expires. LaMelo and Halliburton just signed a 5-year deal for $260 million. Both Ja and Zion have signed for 5 years at $197 million. Dunn is 29 years old, just entering his prime, and on his 5th team since joining the league as the 5th pick in the 2016 NBA draft. He most recently signed a 2-year deal with the Jazz, and right now they have a decision to make between him and, excuse me for the pronunciation, Luka Samanic, a 6'10", 23-year-old from Croatia. I don't care how much time you have to develop a player, the odds of them cracking the top 30 is not worth the risk of losing a player who has already proven to be capable of just that. I can't believe it's even a debate. Just look at how he compares to the rest of the Jazz players. He leads the team in production per 36 minutes, and if we look at how the Jazz played him last season, with less time and a smaller role than Clarkson, he's still the 2nd highest in production with a score of 33.3 per 25 minutes, blowing Luka Samanic out of the water and back to Croatia. After looking at his stat line, all I can think is, maybe he's a defensive liability.
Thunder. 18-point score off turnovers. Got a turnover right here. The Jazz taking advantage of.
Pick the pocket down through the rim. The Sohan had his hand on the ball. It was no bucket. The steal on the other end by Dunn.
See it right there.
There's a steal. And Chris Dunn is.
If the offense changes a bit.
Thought Dort walked, but he passes it out. Turned it over. There's Dunn marking it. Throws his shoulder down and scores it. Nice roll inside. Jazz still come out. They trap. They get the steal. Dunn. Nicely done.
And you know, most people might say, well, this game's over.
All here in the second quarter.
He's brought some energy to this second unit. I've enjoyed Chris.
Timeout. Jokic on a feed down low, tapped away by Samanic. Picked up again, fed from Dunn to Ochai. Oh my!
Ochai getting it done from Chris Dunn on that long full court pass.
Based on his role with the Jazz alone, he's still provided just under $18 million of value. There must be a team out there willing to take a chance on this man and let him play into a contract he deserves. If the 76ers are willing to pay PJ Tucker over $10 million to play 26 minutes a game and have nothing to show for it, then why not Chris Dunn? If we take a look at just the top 30 producers in the league, accounting for the new contracts in Ball, Halliburton, Zion, Ja, and Sabonis, you'll find that one guy amongst the most elite is on an island all by himself. underpaid by $37,956,678. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.